And without further ado, I will give the stage to Fee, who is a UX writer at Wix. Hi, Fee.
Hi.
Hello.
It's amazing to be here and nice to meet you all electronically. So I'm Fion, but you can call me Fee, and I'd love to give you an insight into my role of a UX writer at Wix. So if you're all ready, I can get started with my presentation. Okay, I think we're all set up to go. Thanks. So my name's Fee, or Fion, but you can call me Fee, and I'm a UX writer at Wix.com. And I'm obviously not from Lithuania. I'm from the United Kingdom, but I moved to Vilnius about 2.5 years ago to start my journey as a UX writer at Wix.com. So I just want to say that this presentation was created considering the lovely ladies at Women Go Tech. And I really hope that by sharing my journey to becoming a UX writer and working in tech, that you can get some pointers on your journey into the tech industry. And if you're watching for any other reason, I just hope it can entertain you. So I'd also like to say that I think you're definitely on the right path if you want to transition your career into the tech industry. You have an amazing, amazing future ahead of you. So here's how it all started for me. So I applied to university, and when I applied to university in the UK, I applied to do business management. But actually, the university replied and they invited me to study business management with computer science. So I was like, yeah, great. I'll study business science and computer management and business management and computer science and all this crazy cool stuff. But I was living at home and I was traveling an hour to university and an hour back every day. So that was a bit tough. And I wasn't living on campus. So I felt like I wasn't really getting the university experience. So I went to go to speak to the head of the course because I decided I wanted to take a gap year and I wanted to go back to university and start the course again and live at university. And when I went to speak to the head of the course, he kind of said to me, look, if you don't think it's the right course for you now, you probably won't in the future. So are there any other courses that you're thinking about that you can switch on to? And when I applied for university, my second choice was actually to do marketing, design and communications, which was at another university in a place called Nottingham. So I switched course and I started again doing marketing, design and communications. And this time I lived at university. And I really, really liked that course. I was able to do a placement year where I got to write content for social media because I was a media and PR officer. So that meant that I could create content for Facebook and for LinkedIn and also create text for things like brochures and get a website commissioned and write the content for that. And when I look back on it, it was a lot of digital writing, even though my career was in marketing. So after that placement year was finished, I went back to university because I was living on campus, but all my friends had left university because they didn't do placement years. So I started living with a whole new group of people. And this group of people were all international students. And I had so much fun living with them because we'd all go partying and they just inspired me so much because they'd been brave enough to move to a new country. And because of that, because I like partying with the international students so much, I decided to do a master's degree and to study cultural events management, which is basically studying partying and culture in a degree and exploring the emerging industry around the cultural sector. And again, really liked this and kept my social media stuff going and became a freelancer where I was doing the social media content for events companies. And I think maybe if you don't have a degree in computer science or anything, actually becoming a freelancer is a really great route into the tech industry because all you really need to do is have a phone with the internet and then you can write content for people. So after I finished my master's degree, I set up as an official freelancer, and I started my career path as a freelancer in marketing. And that lasted for a few years, maybe 3 years, 4 years. But I always had this thought in the back of my head that I'd dropped out of that computer science and business management degree, and it was just bugging me. So I decided that I was going to switch my career completely and transition into the tech industry. So I started applying for job roles, and I wasn't getting any replies. And when I say I wasn't getting any replies, I mean, people just didn't even respond and say no. They just didn't reply to the applications at all. So that wasn't great. And I kept going though, because I really wanted a job in tech. So I eventually one day got an interview for a job at a travel company. Woohoo! So I turn up for the interview, and there's 3 guys, and they're sitting around and they're creating some software, and they've got all their computers, and they just stared at me blankly when I arrived for the interview. And the guy who was actually supposed to interview me for the role, he never turned up to interview me. So my transition into tech wasn't going great. But at the same time as this is happening, I started hanging out with my Lithuanian international friends I'd met at university a lot more. And I started listening to Lithuanian music. And I really like rap music, and there's a Lithuanian rapper called Karpis, and I started listening to his music, and I loved the flows. Even though I couldn't understand a word he was saying, I just thought that the Lithuanian language had this amazing sound, and it sounded like it was just made for poetry. Something about the flows, the lyrics, it just sounded amazing to me. And that was my first real insight into the Lithuanian language. And it kind of caught my interest. So I started going on the internet and learning a bit more about Lithuania. And I realized that there's this amazing history, and there's an amazing emerging art scene and a digital scene. And I would love to tell you a story. If you would like to close your eyes for just 1 minute, then that would be great. You don't have to, but if you can close your eyes, it would be better. Okay, so there's a land, and in this land, there's the biggest, tallest trees, and they are so green. And when you go walking in the forests, if you look at the floor, you'll see this amazing nature. You'll see creatures, and there's these beautiful flowers that are just flourishing on the forest floor. Okay, if you had your eyes closed, you could open them now. In this land, there's this tradition of going and picking mushrooms in the forest and then selling them on the sides of the road. And there's also this rumor that there's more hot air balloons than there are people. And what if I were to tell you that this land was 2.5 hours away on an aeroplane from the United Kingdom? And in this country, people were looking for people to go work in the tech industry there. So this land is Lithuania. And I thought that was pretty neat and pretty magical. So I had my heart set then on getting a job in tech and moving to Lithuania. And as I'm doing that, I'm also finding more about the arts and the culture scene. And I found this amazing illustrator on Instagram called Tekla. And she's actually helped me create the artwork for the sites today. So thank you so much, Tekla, for the amazing artwork. Big shout out to you. So I'm sending my applications off, and I kind of wrote a generic application and sent it off to loads of companies in Lithuania. And very quickly, one company replied. But there was something robotic about the emails that I was getting from the company that wanted me to go work for them. Like something didn't kind of click. And they invited me for the interview, but I actually said no to the interview. And I think that's a great piece of advice for you, or 2 pieces of advice. One, don't create a CV and just like send it out to everybody, because you're just going to waste your time and you're going to waste the hiring manager's time. And the second one is, if you get like offered a role that you don't really want to take, like you don't have to take it. Like if it's meant for you, it will be for you. So I was kind of in a weird position because I'd really wanted this job in tech and I'd really wanted to move abroad, but it was kind of there on the table and I was saying no. And it felt like I was one step closer to moving to Lithuania, but it wasn't really working either. So I kept looking for job vacancies, and I found one from a company called Wix.com. And Wix is a website builder. And I heard of Wix before because I'd built a Wix website when I was in high school, because one of my teachers was like, you can make a Wix website because you don't need to code anything and you can set up a site. So made one there, and then made a few during university as I was creating content for events companies, because I could kind of set up a website for an events company. And again, I didn't have to write a line of code. So I thought this time I will put a bit more effort into the application I'm writing for this company and really tailor it to the job description. And this is what they were looking for at Wix. They were looking for a UX writer who will write clear, creative UX content in the Wix tone and voice, to conduct extensive product research based on usability sessions, support tickets, competitor analysis, and more. Own every stage of the content cycle, from brainstorming on initial wireframes to shipping perfect copy. Collaborate with product managers, developers, UX designers, and other stakeholders across the company and in different offices worldwide. And juggle multiple projects at once while prioritizing your tasks and meeting tight deadlines. And the last one on the job description was coordinate the localization process for our global audience, 18 languages and counting. So that sounded pretty neat. So I sent this application off, and I thought there was like a 1% chance that Wix was going to respond, because I hadn't been very lucky with my other applications. And they actually replied to the email. And I was so excited because I'd like heard Wix was a good company, right? And they've replied to my interview, which meant if I could actually get through the next rounds of the interviews, then my big dream to get a job in the tech industry and move to Lithuania might actually come true. So I got sent a task to do, and it was to rewrite the text for this screen. And this is a screen when you are using the site and you type in the wrong web address or URL, and you kind of get an error screen. And UX writers are the people who are writing this kind of content online. So I came up with a few ideas and emailed them back, and that task got approved. So the next stage in the interview process then was to have an hour-long interview where I had to talk about how the words I'd chosen, how I got to those decisions, and the research I conducted, and kind of just the thought process behind the language I'd used. And that went okay. That interview went okay. So then I had 2 more interviews, and then they invited me out to Lithuania to actually have the interview in person in Lithuania. And that was amazing. Like, at this time, I felt like I was in a movie. And that interview went okay too. So that meant that they were actually offering me the job, and it meant that these 2 dreams that I had to work in tech and move to Lithuania were actually coming true. So I packed up a tiny suitcase, I got on the plane, and I exported myself to Lithuania. And when I got to the hotel, it was wintertime, and I remember being in the hotel and looking out of the window, and I just realized this reality as I'm looking at this beautiful winter landscape, that when you get to a new country, you have no idea where you're going. You have no friends. You have no social network. You have to basically start from scratch. So those 2 days, my first 2 days in Lithuania, seemed to last for so long. And when I look back on it, I feel like actually sometimes quite cool adventures have quite quiet beginnings. And those 2 days passed, and a few days after that, I'd start my new role at Wix. And this is what it looked like outside the Wix office. It felt like something out of a storybook, and it was beautiful. And I still think that Vilnius city is beautiful. And then I got into the office, and this was my first impression of the office. And then I sat down at my desk and started learning what it would mean to actually be a UX writer, because it was a brand new career for me. So I realized that UX writing is actually this kind of hidden part of the internet, because when you're using your phone or a website, every piece of text that you see on that screen has been specifically chosen, fit for purpose, to get you to be able to use that digital product. And UX writers are writing the text in every button that you have to press when you're using an app or a website, and writing things like notifications text and settings text. So I got put with my team, and my team was Wix forums. And a Wix forum is like a social media network that you can put on your own website, and you can kind of run it yourself. So my job was going to be to write and work with the designers to write all the settings text when you want to kind of set up and manage your Wix forum. So this is going to be super interesting. And you can use your Wix forum to kind of build a community around your products and around your website, and get amazing conversations going in there, so that you can make a livelihood, which has been so important to so many people during Corona. When people couldn't actually go out and work, they could sell their products digitally on their website and actually make a livelihood. So we've got people that are like selling candles, selling costumes, selling cakes, and loads more stuff. And they're getting these amazing discussions going in their own social media network, their forum. So as I'm learning more about the role, I'm learning that you have to collaborate really closely with the designers as a UX writer, because you're building products together. And also you have to be in constant communication with the developers who are building the code for the thing that you're making. So that's super fun. And you can also do some fun stuff, like you can work with data analysts to actually compare some text against other texts. So say you wanted loads of people to create a new post, you could kind of change that text, have a few different options, and test them against each other and see what wins and what gets you closer to the KPIs for your product. And it's not just for desktop. We're also creating the content for apps and for the mobile web. And we're working with an international team of writers as a UX writer to take the content that we're writing in English and then actually get it translated into loads of other languages. And it goes through something called a QA process, which is where you make sure the text looks amazing in English and also looks great in all the other languages that your product's offering. And the snow quickly melted and it became beautiful summertime in Lithuania. And I started meeting other UX writers, because when I started at Wix, there was no other international girls. There was one other UX writer who's a guy from America, but I had this amazing network of UX writers around the world who were also working for Wix. And they told me that the most important thing really as you're building your products is the relationships you have within your team. So not only you have to think about the end user and who you're creating that product for, but as a UX writer, it's really important that you have great relationships with the people that you're working with too. So that's where I am now, and I'm loving Lithuania. I'm loving life here. It's amazing. And like, I'm really thankful for everybody for welcoming me into the city, because it's been amazing. And I just want to say that I really think that you are on an amazing path if you want to transition and go to work in tech, because by doing this, you're going to find so many new things about yourself, and you're going to upskill. You're going to find skills that you never knew you had inside you as well. And just keep going. Like with my story, the transition to tech doesn't happen overnight. You just got to keep going. And even if you don't end up working in tech, that's okay. You're going to be great. You're going to have an amazing impact on the world no matter what you do. So don't worry, you're not entirely defined by your job, and just keep going. And I really want to say good luck. And I think you're all going to have an amazing, amazing future ahead of you. And I'm wishing you all the best. And if you want to ask any questions, I've got some time. So go ahead. And I think if I get some questions up on the screen, as if by magic, my amazing assistant, Antanas, is going to be speaking last. Okay, amazing. So let's see these questions. Yeah, Coldness. I went there. It was really nice. And they were like having all the city centre redone. So it's going to be amazing next time I visit, I bet. Okay.
Thank you, Pete. It was an amazing presentation. It was so nice to hear so many wonderful things. Simona is saying what a lovely story about Lithuania. She says thank you. Vitania as well. Laura says you are an amazing person. I believe you have and you will have many friends in Lithuania. So thank you so much. Simona also says that it was a great pleasure to listen to you. If you guys have any questions, please don't be shy.
Oh, amazing. Oh, well, if you don't have any questions now and you want to know more about UX writing, you can just write to me on LinkedIn. You can get my name from the presentation details and just drop me a question there. And I'm happy to talk more about UX writing with you. And on that note, I will hand over to my colleague Dovidas, and really, really good luck, guys. You'll be amazing. Bye.
What's up? First of all, I want to say thank you to Fiona. It was really inspirational speech. And I just want to confirm that basically imagine a website without a text. So basically what we would have, so it would be circles or rectangles, basically colorful shapes. So, you know, like text is really important in any of the product. And today, I want also to thank you for organizers. I want to say a huge thank you for Human Go Tech initiative. I truly believe that it helps for a lot of talented women to seek for their new careers. And I'm happy, you know, like to be part of it and maybe, you know, like inspire. So today I will talk about designing the experience, but it doesn't work this one. Just a second. Perfect. But first of all, let's have some questions from my side. You can answer yourself. I know that maybe I'm at risk because it's already 5 minutes to 6, so maybe you all already hungry. Maybe you want to order some food. And basically, I want to ask, when was the last time you ordered the food, and maybe you used Wolt or Bolt application? My favorite one is Wolt. And how was the experience? Wolt has like many great restaurants. So how you chose the one? How you chose one dish which you really like? And was the fast delivery? Was delivery guy, you know, like he brought you a hot meal? Did you enjoy the meal? This is the most important. Would you recommend the same restaurant, the same meal to your friend? And by saying it, so basically we are talking about application experience, but do we? Is it not only Wolt experience, how you order, but also a restaurant, because we're doing a hard work to provide a good meal? And the user experience term was founded by Don Norman at 1993. And usually people, when they hear user experience, they're thinking about digital applications such as Instagram, Netflix, or Google. However, from example I gave to you, I proved that user experience is everywhere. It's a clash of physical and digital worlds. What happens maybe in a digital maybe transfers to a physical, and you can eat that food. So once again, my topic is about designing the experience in any case, in any product, in any service, no matter if it is digital or physical. And I will try to say, give you some practical tips. I will talk about process, and I really hope so that after my presentation, you will be able to improve your product or service, or even your daily life by visualizing things. So once again, I am Davidas. I am head of UX at Wix Lithuania. I work at Wix for almost 6 years. Time flies. Never thought that in one company for so long, but I think it just like a beginning. During those years, I had a pleasure to work on many different products. But today, my role is to ensure professional development of our discipline designers, ensure professional guidelines to provide tips of our methodologies, and basically help to create and build user-friendly products for more than 200 million of users. So let's come, so I really like an idea that not everything what is beautiful is user-friendly. And to illustrate, let's come back to food. So imagine you are going to you are going to a restaurant you found out, and the restaurant has the most amazing interior you ever saw. Waitress are really polite. You quickly got a table. Menu is self-explanatory. You order the food, it came quickly, and suddenly you taste it, and it's not good. All your flow or your journey was going up, and at the end of the day, it was like food wasn't delicious. Would you recommend that restaurant? I guess no, even despite the fact that everything else was great, but the most important one wasn't. Same would be with websites or products or digital service. Imagine that you're searching for a restaurant. You found out in a Google really beautiful website. Visuals looks great. However, you're already spending 5 minutes by searching contacts, by searching menu. You said, that's it, it's okay, I will not go to that restaurant. It looks great, but it doesn't work as it should be. It doesn't give you a value, that beautiful website. And why it is like that? Because people has really simple process of having a problem and immediately going to solution. And while we are talking about UX process, which is an iterative method which helps us constantly improve our services product with a user feedback. So things are way different, because and why it's important is because only 53% of users feels that brand meets their requirements, expectations. However, the funny part is that almost every company in the globe thinks that we are doing the best user experience possible. So, and invest in user experience is really important. And every dollar company invest in a return results of $100. So it's really, it really, it's good that we are investing. And basically Wix is a great example. We are user-centered company, and to achieve great products, we have our own methodology. We called it the Wix way of doing UX. We built that methodology in almost 15 years. We're always trying to improve it. We're always trying to add additional methods. Definitely the fundamentals we are the same all the time, because we are fundamentals, but things in a different situations could change. For example, we always prefer to have usability testing face to face, because you can see more, you can feel the emotions better, and so on. Now we do tests remotely, so all those things are adding. However, I would like to stop you here. Why? Because UX process, it depends per company, it depends per product, it depends even per designer or per person. I'm saying that fundamentals are always the same, but it doesn't need for you to know how Wix works, because you need to apply UX process for your company, for your product, for your project, and find the most optimal one. However, I said that it will be a practical lecture. So that's why I came here with a 5 steps UX process, which I called Woman Go Tech 21. It's I will say about how you can start knowing. I will teach you how to find the right problem, how to choose tools, how to succeed sooner by failing faster, and at the end of the presentation, how to make the real product. So the first one is about how people ignore design that ignores people. I love this quote. And what I mean is that you need to understand what is your user. We are building a product for people, not for systems, not for robots. Everything what we do at the end of the day is used by one or another person. And at Wix, we really love to speak with users, and we think that it's the most important one. We want to understand who are them. We want to understand their needs, their motivations, their pain points. We want to understand what kind of problems we are facing in their current workflow. We want to identify what other products we are using. Maybe we can learn also from them, from competitors. And myself, I always saying that I guess we are speaking not enough even with users. We should do it almost daily with at least one, and it should be your habit. So I really recommend for you, by doing any product, physical or digital, no matter, speak with your potential customer, with your user, to understand who are them. And talking about finding the right problem, so I have many design feedbacks with many different design teams. And the first thing, what we are showing for me, it's always some kind of mock-up, some kind of prototypes, but I'm stopping them and saying, okay, let's stop. Can you say me what kind of problem do we solve right now? It's important question because we can have many different solutions, but we need to understand the right problem. And by understanding the right problem, I mean that you can um, you can even have a problem, but also you will not connect that solution to that problem. And that's why we need to understand, is it a real user problem? Sometimes stakeholders, sometimes product manager like Antanas are coming to me and saying, okay, Douglas, we have a problem. I got one request, so let's try to it. But one request is a problem or not. We also need to answer it. Why it's important to solve. Uh, how big impact we would provide for the end user by solving that problem. Don't get me wrong, every problem is important, but we have a limited time. That's why we need to prioritize. That's why we want to solve a bigger problems. And also what is really important in defining the problem stage, in understanding the right problem. So it's how we're gonna measure if we solve that problem. We need to think about KPIs, we need to think about goals, we need to measure it and understand when it's done. Usually, I will give you like a quick tip. It's hard to solve any of a problem if it is only one solution. I always think about complex solutions, which a few solutions, which step by step are solving the right problem. Additional tip from my side, it's about 5 whys rule. Basically, you always need to ask why. And as many times you're asking, the deeper problem you are solving. Because at first, why I am nervous? Because I'm speaking in a public. Why you are speaking in public? because I want to help young talents to change their careers and come to tech companies, and so on and so on. So I really need to come to the root problem. And talking about choosing the right tools, so it, in my hand I have a pencil. I think it costs a few cents only, and I think that this is the most underrated tool for designer for problem solver. Why? Because it's so easy to use, and you can visualize your ideas on a paper, on a sketchbook, or even on the note. And if I have the best possible idea, I cannot say that it's really good idea till I'm sketching. And I sketch a lot daily. I sketch every meeting with, I'm talking with designers, with product managers, with any other stakeholder. And that helps me because at least myself, I really forget things, and that's not good. And while writing or sketching, while visualizing things, it really helps me to remember. Additionally, by sketching a quick sketch of digital application, of ideas I want to transfer to the users, it let me explore different options. And here you can see a crazy eight method. It's method from Design Sprint methodology, and I really encourage you to try it. It takes only 8 minutes and one sheet of paper and one pencil, and you will be able in 8 minutes to create 8 different ideas for one of your problem. And if you would repeat a few times, so you would see how crazy you can achieve, how crazy results you can achieve in just 8 or 16 minutes. Let's talk about wishes. And really, from all my heart, I would like that you would fail as early as possible. While to fail, because from failures you can learn. And it's not that I do not believe that only, like your path would be super easy. You will and you will be successful from day one. No, if you are successful, I think you can be even more successful, and you need to learn from your mistakes. And a quote which is saying that a prototype is worth 1,000 meetings. I agree with it. A prototype help us to see and limit the expenses of the development. Um, Once again, from my own experience, when I have meetings with designers, sometimes I cannot visualize. Like I see a mock-up, I know a problem, I know who's the user, I see a mock-up, an idea, but how it would interact, it's still a secret for me. So that's why we create clickable prototypes. We even create paper prototypes, and we create animated prototypes, and we even create HTML, CSS prototypes, and that's help us with a different fidelity. That's help us to see what kind of mistakes we can do, or what kind of mistakes we can avoid. And another thing is that about failing to succeed sooner. So it's basically we as designers, or as problem solvers, or anyone who makes decisions, usually we are saying that, okay, we know the best. We know that this is a good user experience. We know that this is a good product, but no, we are not our users. We are designers. We create things. That's why, and only 55% of technology companies are currently conducting any user experience. And usually we are saying that it's too hard. We do not have user researchers or usability testing disciplines. It takes too much time for us to prepare. It's hard to find all the people, and I have an answer for it. Try Gorilla usability testing. It doesn't require a lot of effort. It should take only 10-15 minutes per test. It's enough to test 5 people to find errors and fix them as quickly as possible. You can solve immediate dilemmas. You can have a discussion with product manager, and you can have 2 different options, like the versions you believe in, and do not like have just discussion. Try testing, and you would see immediately result. And the fifth, the last step in Woman Go Tech methodology, so it's about making real. So imagine, you know your user, you define the correct problem, you explore different ideas, you did a prototype, also you tested, you came back and iterated once again, you launched it. So what's next? So only after you launch, so this is real, and you are getting data. You're getting data. You can see funnels. Maybe you will have one or another drop. Maybe you can investigate, and data is really important in user experience or in any successful product, because you can measure how your solution solved the problem. And data is quantitative method, and it always needs to go with qualitative method, because quantitative data gives you um, what people are doing, and qualitative data gives you why people are doing. So if we see in a funnel a huge drop, so we identified, and now what we need to do, it's basically to talk with the users once again and ask, why did you not made a purchase, why you left in a car, and so on. So it's always important to talk with the users, even if you see a data. So Woman Good Tech design UX process is not linear. It's circular. You're starting knowing, you're picking the right problem to solve. You're choosing the right tools. You are trying to succeed as soon as possible, and you're making it real. And to sum up, I want to say that while like creating a product or service, we always need to understand that user experience is not only in digital, but also in physical environment, and they clash. Investing in effective user experience design process can bring many benefits to your business. Think about top 500 companies. All of them are user-centric, and it makes sense why. Because because their product are used by people like me or you. And just like you can't learn to swim without getting into water, you will not understand UX process until you actually apply it to a product or service. And this is the only one thing I really want to, that you would take out from my lecture. It's to try things. You need to find a fundamentals things, start slowly, but go big. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the presentation. It was so interesting to hear about the data behind proper user design and the importance of finding a problem and defining the problem that UX designers need to resolve. We have a question from Laura. What is guerrilla usability testing? Could you please elaborate?
Yeah. So basically, I'm looking to this screen. Can I somehow, just a second? Our IT guy, Antanas.
Just a second.
Yeah, so it will be easier. Yeah, so thank you for the question. So guerrilla usability testing is one of the testing methods which doesn't require a lot of preparation. For example, as an alternative, I could give you an emotions test, which needs to have like way longer process, like to prepare a huge scenarios. Usually you're testing a bigger areas in your product or service. And Gorilla usability test requires just 2-3 scenarios, short ones. For example, imagine you would like to buy Nike Air Max shoes. You have a website, so person needs to find it and to add to cart, and you can check mistakes you did while creating a user experience. So basically, it's one of the methods.
Perfect, thank you. Also, Gintara said that, guys, all of you are so amazing. Wix is amazing. One question, maybe you could share some hints on how to start to draw a sketch during the meetings, and after it, understand what you've drawn when you're not a drawer. So do you have to be a painter to draw, or?
I think if we would be a painter, so it would take too much time. I cannot paint. I cannot, draw the perfect line, but it doesn't stop me. And by answering how to start sketching and that you would understand later. So basically, you're creating your own language. If it is like a circle, so maybe you already know what circle means. And usually, yes, after the meeting, when you are taking it, so it's hard. Okay, so what did I meant? But when you're thinking, so you remember the thing. And how to start it, just do it. It's like as simple as possible. It's really just do it, and you will with time you will make a huge progress, and you will be able, like you will want to visualize everything what you have.
Okay, perfect. Greta has shared that there's a nice book, Visual Thinking, that actually helped her to learn painting simple items. Have you also seen it, read it?
This book I didn't read it, but talking about like design books, so I highly recommend to read everyone Don Norman, Everyday Design of Everyday Things. It's basically really a great book which in which you can learn how things works in physical life and environment. And also the second edition, it was released last year or 2 years back. So now it is with more with digital things. So both versions are great. So it's really great one. And it's not only for UX designers. I think for many people it could help.
Okay, great. I also have a question from myself. You mentioned that you mostly like to have a pen and a paper, a pencil, and you like to keep it simple. But for those that would like to try something technical, is there maybe a platform that you also use, like Miro or anything else that helps you keep everything in one place? Because with the papers, you can get messy.
My wife doesn't like that I sketch a lot, because I have a lot of papers on my table, and I do not like to clean things. I like messy when all sketches is around me. But Miro is a great example. I think, like it's really, like a great tool. We use it at Wix quite widely, and, like it has many options. And one of the best thing is that it has templates which you can use in order to kick off. Another thing, what I really like is Figma. It's basically also, like we are creating a lot of things, and you can even make designs and create prototypes. So it's kind of, I guess, in the future, it will be only one tool designers will use, because we implemented mirror functionality also. So it's great. And I really like, it's not about sketching, but I really like Notion. It's also, you can create everything what you want, like Trello boards. You can create spreadsheets and so on and so on. So it's really great tool also.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you for sharing your experience. If anyone else has a question, please don't be shy. Turn on your mics. Let us hear you, see you. And if not, Dovydas will be available. You can always put a question in the chat. Maybe we'll have some time at the end of the third session to come back to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Cheers.
Hello. I'll bring water.
quick water break, everyone. Stay hydrated.
It was an hour now and a bit, I think almost an hour. So I hope you're doing great. I want to do a quick exercise. I want to enter a grid view, and I'd like to ask you to turn on your camera. I'd like to see your face. If you can, that's great. And so my name is Antanas. I work as a product manager at Wix. I have a presentation ready. I'll share it with you in a moment. But I'm curious, I would love to learn about the audience and you. Can you maybe use the chat and write about your background, what you're doing at the moment, and what do you want to do in tech? Because I understood that you are trying to move to tech, right, Emilia?
Yes, yes. Most of our mentees are trying to kickstart their career in tech.
Okay, that's great. So if you can write what you're doing, what's your background? Basically, I personally am an ex-marketing specialist. Now I'm a product manager, and it would be great to learn what you're doing and what you would love to do. If we have anybody, do we have anybody who would love to be a product manager? Yeah, I heard someone move, so you can unmute. And do you have any product manager wannabe?
Hi, I just wrote that I am from finance. I was like PO, and now I am working as IT PO.
Okay, product
So
owner.
it's very challenging, very, very different.
So you worked as a product manager and then you moved to IT product ownership?
Yes, like this.
And when you worked as a product manager before, you didn't work as an IT product manager? It was a different type of product management?
A little bit work, but my main goal was underwriting in insurance and PO at the same time. Mm-hmm. But now I just am like the PO in the tech field, and it's very challenging thing. I don't know many things. I implemented system before, but as I now understand, I don't know such a thing. So but it's like the newborn.
Yeah, but Gintara, what is the most challenging thing? I'm curious to.
For example, I was work with Jira earlier, but my analytics works like writing user stories, and now I am doing that job. So it's challenging for me because in the previous companies we just wrote the one format user stories, and now simpler with the links, and now I have the all new user story format from the scratch to the beginning. So it's challenging because I was thought that I know all that stuff, and now I understand that no, I'm learning like from the start with a little bit background. Yes, I have it, but like very different.
Okay, so you should come to Wix because rarely as product managers we write user stories. We work mostly with wireframes and use cases.
You know, after this job, I think I can go everywhere. So we will see. But now it's very hard, challenging, and yes, it's tough.
Well, it's interesting. So great. So we have already product managers. I want to read the chat. We have political science student. We have marketing and graphic design wanting to move to UX. We have finance, learning backend engineering. Nice. QA engineer, and from 1st of June, I'm working in Wix. Congratulations. Nice to hear that. Background sociology, work as HR administrator, want to move to UX research. Product manager want to be editor. Okay, shout outs. Great. So we have some great examples, some great backgrounds, and some great plans for the future. So what I want to do, I want to share my presentation and share with you my story for today. So give me just a second. Okay, I'm almost ready. So I just want to tell that if you want to ask questions or you have something to ask or add, feel free to do that. You can do it verbally or you can just write in the chat and I'll try to answer your questions. And for today, I was planning to talk about myths of product management. So before that, I want to break one myth about Wix. I'm not sure what do you think Wix is. Can someone share how do they see Wix, what Wix is? Do you know? Anyone? Be brave. So yeah.
You can create a website without coding experience, like knowledge, like in the simple sense.
Yeah, so Wix is a website builder, that's true. But it started as a website builder a long time ago, and today it's much more than that. With Wix, you can basically build any business that is successful online. So it's not only a website, but also you can create websites that are used for fitness and all sorts of other use cases. You can run classes, you can do online courses, you can sell pricing plans, you can write blog posts. You can basically create all of your business and you have all the tools to manage it, not only the website, but also your customers, and you have all the marketing tools. It's a cohesive solution to build a business online and have it successful. The company itself was founded in 2006, so we're quite an old company. And to date, we have over 200 millions of users in 190 countries and 5,000 employees worldwide with 250 and a bit more in Vilnius office. So this is what I wanted to explain, and it's a common misconception that we're just a website builder, but we're grown into a very powerful tool to run a business online. Also, another thing that is important to understand about Wix is our structure. So you can imagine that the company as big as Wix would be a place where you don't necessarily have a lot of ownership of on what you're doing, but it's not the case with Wix. Wix is structured into a smaller companies within Wix that are basically a cross-functional teams that fully owns and develops the product. We have all sorts of specialists like product managers, marketing managers, designers, writers, business and data specialists, developers, testers, and legal to fully own our products. And the neat thing about that is that if you would come to work as a product manager at Wix, you would not be necessarily owning a single feature on a big platform. You would be owning a product as the whole, and you would be able to introduce features that are very creative at Wix. So talking about the product that I'm leading, I'm working on the pricing plans application. So when you're creating a website on Wix, you can add plugins and extensions, we'll call them apps, that bring additional functionality on your website. And one of those apps is pricing plan, and it allows for our users to sell subscriptions to their users. It works great with fitness, content, and other services. So before I start to talk about myths, I also wanted to share my personal path as a professional. So I started my career back in 2008 as an editor. I was writing posts about internet and telecommunications at mobile.lt. It was one of the biggest independent mobile phone retailers in Lithuania. I worked as a journalist for 4 years. If you know, maybe some of you remember Naujoji Komunikacija. It was a magazine about IT, and I was also writing there. And in 2012, I joined the Kaunas University of Technology as a marketing manager. In Kaunas University of Technology at the time, we've started an incubator for young entrepreneurs to build startups. And in about 2.5 years, we established 27 companies that collectively raised 500,000 euros in funding. And this was the place where I was first exposed to product management. And I was inspired by the people creating amazing products. And I thought, oh gosh, I want to be a product manager myself. So around 2014 and 2015, I was pivoting from marketing to product management, and I'll be talking about moving from one background to product management in a bit. So in 2015, I became a product manager. Back then, it was a lot harder to break into the industry than it is today. There were not so many positions, and I kind of created strategy. I remember I had almost a sales funnel where I was gathering leads for jobs, moving them to meetings, moving to test assignments until eventually I got a job as a product manager. In 2016, I joined a British company that was creating an amazing product to search maps by travel time. And 2.5 years ago, I joined Wix as a product manager to work on pricing plans. So this is my journey. And as you can see yourself, I moved from marketing to product, and definitely it's possible to switch career, and you can do it yourself if you want to become a product manager. Now, the main topic of today is myths about product management. And I'm not sure, what do you think of product management and what is your definition? The most common definition of product manager is that it's somebody who is gathering users' requirements and managing the team of the developers and designers until they develop and release the product. But there's so many definitions about product management, and you have product owners that are product managers in agile methodology. And at Wix, we also have an actual book that is 70 pages long. It is called the Wix Way of Product, and we have a definition of the product manager. So the role of the product manager, make the unknown known so your team can ask the right questions and think of solutions. So this is kind of vague on purpose, and as product managers, we're doing a lot of stuff to help our team to understand what they need to build. And I thought that the best way to explain what product management really is to talk about myths that surround product management the most. I come up with 3 myths, and I want to share them with you. And I want to involve you, so I will be asking whether you agree with those myths or not. And at the end, I'll try to validate them or deny those myths. Okay? Cool. So let's move to the first myth. There's no difference between project and product management. Do you think it's true or false? And you can write in the chat what you think. And you can also write why you think so. Now, the reason why I come up with this myth is that I talked with HR at Wix, and they told me that when they're recruiting product managers, a lot of applicants come from project management field. They apply for product manager role as a project managers. And the thing is that as a product manager, product management is applied project management. So it's basically project management. But you have to have specific skills as a product manager to really manage your product development well. So you have to be analytical, you have to understand, okay, so there's a problem, you need to analyze it, you have to work with customer care to really gather the feedback, get to the bottom of it, you have to be strategic. You're not developing a single feature, you are developing a series of features that fall in a bigger picture. You have to be somewhat technical and understand your developers. You have to have business. So essentially, you're like an intersection between business, design, and tech that you have to understand. And at Wix in particular, what is very important for product managers is to be able to translate product ideas into wireframes that we use to align the team before we develop and design products. So there's a difference between project and product management, and this myth is false. Now, another myth, and you can also write, is it true or false? And we're trying to calculate your votes, and we'll see at the end what you think yourself. You can also add, why do you think that? but product managers don't have to be technical. So what do you think? Is it true or false, and why? Actually, this is something that as a product manager, especially as a junior product manager, I've heard in my career myself. And you also, it's interesting, like my background is marketing, and I talked with some of you who also moved from, I saw somebody moved from a completely different field that is not related to product management. So is it true or false? You can add your answers and we'll discuss. Now, there's no straight answer. And definitely you don't have to be technical to break into product management. At Wix, we have over 200 product managers worldwide. We have 14 product managers in Vilnius. And if you look at product managers' backgrounds, and product manager background in this case is what they were doing before moving to product management, or what they were studying before starting to work as a product managers. So as you can see, almost more than a quarter were engineers and they had technical backgrounds. And it kind of makes sense because a lot of developers, as they grow, they eventually move to some form of management. And this is why we have a big chunk of our product managers from engineering background. And you see other types of backgrounds that Wix product managers have. So I want to put emphasis on some of them. So some of the best product managers come from business analysts. And the reason for that is that they really can dig into numbers. They can understand the importance of measuring things as an experienced business analyst. And it's very common even in other companies to move from business analysis to product management. Another group that become great product managers are quality assurance specialists. And the reason for that is that they're kind of experts of the product. They really understand how it works, and they have a technical understanding of the product. So it makes sense as a QA move from testing to building products. And the final group that I want to emphasize are people from customer care. They become great product managers because they tend to have the best empathy with users. We consider customer care at Wix as our ears and eyes. We listen to them and they tell all the feedback that we need to know from our users. And when you learn how to listen to your users, which is one of the most important skills as a product manager, you can be a great product manager. Now, as a product manager also, you need to know the product best. And I figured that most of you in the audience, you have a smartphone, and I'd like to ask you to think if you would say that you understand how the iPhone works. Because it's quite obvious. You just open an app or you make a call and there's no problem to use an iPhone. So do you understand how an iPhone works? And as a consumer, we do understand how to use an iPhone, but in order to really understand the thing that you're using, you need to go deeper, you need to go under the hood, or in this case, under the screen, and understand the inside. It's the same with an IT project. So what is important for you as a product manager to understand is the high-level architecture of your product, and you need to understand main APIs that are being used. So an API stands for Application Programming Interface, and it's like a language that is used by different applications and software to communicate with each other. And you need to understand, so what are the main parts of your software and how does it communicate using APIs? And this, when you understand this, it helps you to understand technical constraints, which is crucial when building a product. You need to understand what you can do and what is not possible. And of course, you don't need to read code, but you have to have this understanding. So to answer this question, if a product manager don't have to be technical, which I heard in my career many times, the answer is again, no. You have to have some extent of technical understanding to really understand your product, to be able to discuss issues with your development team. And this is what, sorry, this is what product managers need to understand. So this is the third myth and the last myth. And this is something that I personally Googled myself. And I basically Googled what is the role of the product manager. And I learned this on Google. It says product manager is the CEO of the product. That sounds so fascinating. And when you think of it, you might think that you will be the one who is making decisions, what features to build and what features not to build and so on. And so you might think that you'll come to this position and you'll get to decide what to build. So you can also write, is it true or false? And we'll see your answers later. And also add, why do you think if the product manager is the CEO of the product or not? Okay, so to answer this question, I'd like to share with you a very simple practice from product management. It is called a RISE score. Now, a RISE score is a practice used by product managers to rate and prioritize the most important problems to be solved and solutions that needs to be implemented. It is being determined or calculated from 4 main ingredients. You have reach, which is how many people will be affected by the given feature that you're about to develop. The impact, what will be the impact if they will make more money or save money and so on. Confidence, how much are you sure that this feature will help them? Divided by effort, which is how hard is to build the feature. And this can be collected through from your development team. So customer care and your data people are the best to explain you what is the potential reach and impact of the given feature. Confidence is something that you have to collect from talks with users and other stakeholders. And effort is something that you try to determine from designers and development. At the end of the day, you get a score. And then you use the score to prioritize your tasks. The highest score task goes to the top, and it's like picking apples. You're seeking for the most ripe apple that hangs the lowest. But what does it mean? It means that you don't come as a product manager and dream of features. It's a hard grinding work to come up with the understanding what needs to be developed and why, and then prioritizing it and rallying the team to implement those features. So this myth is also a false, and on purpose, I selected myths that were false. Today I wanted to show that product management might not be something that people imagine it is, but it's somewhat different. And there's a difference between project and product management. So product management is applied project management, and you have to have skills that are tailored for product management to be successful when developing a new feature or a product. Product managers do have to be technical, and they have to be technical to a certain extent, meaning they have to understand what is the high level architecture of their product and how they work. And also this helps to understand constraints and what is possible. And you're not the one, you're not the boss. Your user is the boss, and you work hard with your team to understand what to build and what not to build. Now, I'm not sure. So I have a question to the audience. So does it change in any way how you perceive product management? Do you have any thoughts about that? So I wanted to finish this presentation raising this question. So why should you become a product manager? And I really like this quote from Abhishek Bardwai, a product manager at PayPal. Become a product manager only if you are inspired to serve the problems of customers and build great products to ease their lives. And this is the core of being a product manager. You're serving your users, you're trying to listen to them, and really come up with something that resonates with the world outside of your team and helps them to live a better life. Now, if you choose to work as a product manager, I want to finish and give you a tip how to enter the industry. So a while ago, I was reached out by a recruiter called Benas, and he asked if I would be interested to apply to his company. And I said no, but I have a great person to recommend. And he said to me, you reminded me of one guy from UK Recruitment Times. The guy has amazing LinkedIn profile. It fits all the requirements of many positions. Recruiters are messaging him all the time, and he's always saying, not interested at the moment, but I have a really good candidate to recommend, and sends a link. Eventually, we figured out it's his fake account that he uses to recommend his actual profile. When I learned it, I thought, amazing, it's so smart. And I really like this somewhat of a hack. And I hope that it helped the guy to reach his goals, and I shared it with the team. We kind of thought that it's very clever, but at the end of the day, what is important is to have an entry plan. So like I did when I started my career as a product manager, I created a funnel. I wanted to gather leads. I wanted to make meetings, get test assignments until eventually I get the offer. But the most important thing that I believe you have to have is honesty. You have to admit what you're lacking. You have to be honest, and this is especially important applying to a company such as Wix. We really appreciate honesty. So I hope this was interesting. This is it. Do you have any questions?
Thank you so much, Antanas. I see one question in the chat by Gintare. She asked, when you join a new project in any role, how fast does it take you to go deep in it and become an expert of this product, especially when it's like a big company and the project is really big?
So the question is, when you join as a product manager, how much time does it take until you can actually own the product? I'd say that at Wix, it's between 3 to 6 months to really understand what's happening. But it depends very much to person and also to company and also to product. Some products might be very technical or niche, and then you have to understand the business. It can take time. Some products can be very big in scope, others can be small in scope, and then it all depends on that. But to really understand a product like pricing plans that I'm working on, I'd say it would take 6 months for a person to really get deep into. And also, I'm looking to your answer. So I see that to the first question, there were 8 votes that is false. The second, so this was about project management versus product management. I see that the second question, 6 people said it's true. You don't have to be technical. 1 is false, and 3 depends. So, like, as I said, at the end of the day, it's false. You need to be somewhat technical to really understand what you're building. But it's interesting that I managed to deny at least one myth, and there are no votes for third question, but it's okay. Okay, thank you. Any more questions?
Yes, we have a question by Yeva. What kind of soft hard skills are needed for R&D developer to evolve to a product owner?
Very good question. So what softs and hard skills? So you have to have the planning skills. So you will be the one who is managing and organizing the team. You have to have the skills to really figure out what features to do. So like I showed with Rice, you have to be able to prioritize tasks and decide what needs to be built and why, and come up with reasoning for that. To do that, you'll have to understand how to do user research. You'll have to have skills to manage your stakeholders. And as an example, In that methodology, you have confidence. And one of the things that belongs to confidence is other stakeholders, like legal. If you have a feature that is legal requirement, you have to implement it. So you have to be able to work with all the stakeholders to really understand what are the constraints and requirements that you need to implement. At Wix, we expect our product managers to be good at translating their ideas into wireframes that are being used to kick off design and development. So it's also important. In other companies, you have to have technical skills, be able to write documentations and specifications for requirements. And you also have to be analytical. So you have to understand numbers and that your team gives to you, and you have to be able to raise questions. Let's say, how do you measure success, and why do you measure it like that? So this is some of the skills that, as a developer, you would need to evolve as a product manager. And I say that analytical skills, because developers tend to be logical, are easier. And the most challenging thing for a developer could be interpersonal skills and how to build a relationship with the team and how to manage those relationships.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Do we have any more questions?
Great. So thank you. Do you have any questions to Dovydas? He's still in the audience. Okay.
Hello. I personally wanted to thank you all for the great presentation. Thank you for Fee for sharing her experience about the job search and changing her career to a tech sector, that it is not easy. You get rejected many times, but keep trying and have that goal in your mind and you'll get there, I promise. Thank you, Dovydas, for showing us the key points of the great design. And thank you, Antane, for showing us that project managers can come from various different fields, and you don't have to. There are no limits. You can become a project manager from anywhere you're standing right now. So thank you so much. And that's it. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.